The battle for Libya is intensifying. The army and rebel forces clashing up and down the country's coastline. In the past couple of hours, Colonel Gaddafi made a fleeting appearance in Tripoli's main square, showing his supporters he's still there and still fighting. But rebels say they're coming for him and are holding Misrata. 18 people were reported to have been killed in the fighting, and they've regained AlJazeera, which is just 30 kilometers from the capital, Tripoli. Bin Jawad, though, closer to the anti-Gaddafi heartland, has apparently been retaken by the army. Well, nearby in Ras Lanuf, home to an important oil refinery, the fighting has been particularly heavy. Jackie Rowland is there and has been talking to the rebels.
The rebels are edging closer and closer to the Gaddafi heartlands. The territory they call Free Libya now extends almost as far west as Bin Jawad. That's just 200 kilometers from Gaddafi's hometown of Sirte.
We advanced to Bin Jawad and we discovered that Gaddafi troops had recruited teenagers and made them stand on the rooftops to shoot at us. After that, we decided to withdraw from Bin Jawad to work out a new strategy to return and capture the town.
The rebels are chaotic and living on their nerves. Their mood swings from panic to euphoria. But their great strength lies in the conviction that they are liberating their country. The skies are clear again after a sandstorm that lasted several days. And good visibility means enemy aircraft. The rebels are vulnerable from the sky. The pro-Gaddafi forces have aircraft, the opposition fighters don't. It's their one really big disadvantage. Capturing territory and capturing enemy soldiers too. The rebels take us to see a man they've been holding prisoner since Friday. He tells me he's a conscript in the Libyan army.
The army asked me what my specialty was. They posted me as a sentry and said, if you leave, we will shoot you.
Gaddafi's army may outgun the rebels, but the rebels outnumber the army. New volunteers are joining all the time and their morale is high. Just as well, since the heaviest fighting may still lie ahead. Jackie Rowland, AlJazeera, Ras Lanuf in eastern Libya.
So let's see where the land lies for both sides in this growing conflict. These are the cities that the anti-Gaddafi forces say are under their control. They're concentrated in the east. The second largest city in Libya, Benghazi, is their stronghold. Gaddafi retains control of the capital, Tripoli. It's on security lockdown after clashes there erupted a week ago. Clashes continue in Tobruk, a city that was held by the rebels a few days ago, as was AlZawiya, just outside of the capital. And Breka, too, so close to the center of the anti-Gaddafi stronghold in Benghazi. That's also where several British Special Forces soldiers were released after their capture by opposition forces in eastern Libya. Huda Abdel Hamid explains.
It's very difficult for anyone here to believe that these 8 British nationals were actually on a diplomatic mission for the simple reason that they landed in the middle of the night by helicopter in a little town south of Benghazi. They had with them a whole lot of equipment, according to our sources, computers, maps, weapons and explosives. They were immediately intercepted by rebels and the residents of that area and handed over to authorities in Benghazi. Now, the National Council here in Benghazi says it had no idea that these 8 British nationals were on Libyan soil until they were handed over. They said that no one had told them about a diplomatic mission coming into the country. They do raise the question that if they were really diplomatic mission, why didn't they come through the normal route, and that will be through the Egyptian border with Libya. The National Council did say that at this stage it did not want to have any kind of international diplomatic row, so it handed them over to British authorities as quick as it could.
Well, that British team is now heading to nearby Malta. The island's being used for humanitarian purposes. But the country's former prime minister is worried it may be used for military strikes on Gaddafi. He's told AlJazeera he doesn't believe NATO ships off the coast are there just for humanitarian reasons. James Bays has this report.
These aircraft are NATO's eyes and ears. The AWACS is packed with the most sophisticated cameras, surveillance and monitoring equipment. NATO maintains these planes are working as part of a counter-terrorism mission which has been in place since 9/11. But that mandate is a pretty broad one, checking on suspicious aircraft and ships. And in recent days, they've been tracked constantly in the skies near Libya. They've been showing particular interest in this Libyan aircraft, part of Colonel Gaddafi's VIP fleet based at Mytika near Tripoli. The plane, a Falcon 900, which flew from Belarus last week, was this weekend returning from Jordan. This recording was made of the radio communications with air traffic controllers in Malta.
NATO 07, go ahead.
Do you have any information on an aircraft with the squawk 2017 position about 85 miles east of our?
7, that should be a Falcon 900, flight level 340 with a destination Mytika according to FlightNet.
Malta's airport has been hosting planes from at least 7 NATO nations. In the island's main harbour, a South Korean destroyer which has been evacuating workers from Libya. Military vessels from a number of NATO countries are just off the coast. With AWACS spy aircraft overhead and a fleet of Western naval vessels offshore, there is concern here in Malta, an EU nation, but one that prizes itself on its neutrality. A former Prime Minister of Malta told me he doesn't believe Western powers when they say they're only here to evacuate their nationals.
They cannot be trusted because if I were in their place, I would exploit the opportunity I have of the strategic position to spy and to do all that is necessary in preparation of any military attack. So it's not a question of evacuation only. They are exploiting also the circumstances for their own ends.
The British Special Forces team, who were captured in Libya, are now on board HMS Cumberland, heading for Malta. It's adding to concern here that this island's neutrality is slowly being eroded. James Bays, AlJazeera, Malta.
US crude oil is at a 30-month high, sitting at $105 right now. It's all because of attacks like this one a few days ago on an oil depot in Benghazi in Libya. The continuing instability and accompanying slowing of production there is hitting investor confidence. Other news now, and protesters in Egypt say they've been attacked by security services and armed men in plain clothes. The demonstrators had been trying to storm a government building looking for sensitive documents linked to Hosni Mubarak's regime. Ayman Mohiuddin has more from Cairo.
Outside the towering Ministry of Interior, they gathered, demanding